Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Amy from Polyreader. Today, you may notice I'm wearing the same outfit that I was wearing in the last video. I just kind of thought I'd film a bunch of things at the same time because I work a lot and I run a business, so I don't have a lot of time to film. But today I thought I would talk about some books that I did not finish or put on hiatus, I suppose. I think this isn't really talked about enough on BookTube, and I have sort of dealt with a lot of guilt around not finishing a book that other people recommended or that had a really high rating. And I suppose some of it comes down to expectations, me expecting that I'll love something and then just not really loving it, or having other books to read at the same time and sort of thinking, oh well, I'm not loving this, so I'll put it down and pick something else up and then not going back to it because you have that experience of not loving it at the time. So today I thought I would discuss a few books that I did not finish, or DNF, over the past 6 months, and I would like it a lot if you could let me know below whether you've read them, what you thought, whether it's worth giving it another shot, if you think it's something that I might like, considering my reading taste and genres that I'm into. And yeah, so we'll see how we go. So, the first one I do not have on me. This is a book that has quite a high rating and has been loved by a lot of people that I'm good friends with, and I really wanted to love it. I just wanted so badly to love it. And that is On Beauty by Zadie Smith. So I bought this book secondhand and was really, really excited when I found it in the shop. And I read it quite quickly after I bought it. I think I read maybe 3 chapters, which isn't much, but I just wasn't into the writing style, I think. I have to say this was probably the beginning of last year, so it's been about a year since I read this one. But it's been playing on my mind a lot because I hear so much about Zadie Smith and I really want to love her because she sounds like an excellent person and her books sound like they have really important messages and meanings. But yeah, I just wasn't loving it. I think I was a bit confused about where it sat as a genre, and I wasn't sure how I was supposed to be feeling. And I don't usually think about that at all when I'm reading a book. I just kind of go with the flow, and I usually don't like to know too much about a book before I read it either. I like to just kind of go in blind. I mean, I'd like to know the genre, I'd like to know the writer, I'd like to know a very basic amount of info about it, but I don't really want to know the storyline or what to expect. I just like to go in blind and experience it, and then the expectations are pretty much empty, and I can have an honest sort of review of it. So with On Beauty, I don't know, I didn't quite get there. So I would really like to know if you think that I should read it again and how much sort of more time I should give it before I completely DNF it. Whoops. Okay, so the second book I did not finish, Women Who Run with the Wolves. Back maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I was just kind of into quite, you know, spiritually crystals, and yeah, I guess you could say I was a bit of a hippie. And I'm definitely not as much like that these days. But when I was sort of into that whole thing, I bought this book and I was really excited to read it. It was one of those books that I'd heard so much about. I'd seen it everywhere in the sort of social media network I was in at the time, and I started reading it. I think I read 2 of the stories, so they're like myths and tales. I didn't mind it, but it's been about 3 years since I've read it, and I just haven't really felt the urge to pick it up ever again. So I would like to know if you've read it, if you think it's worth picking up again, if maybe it's just not my thing anymore. Let me know. This one is, I'm a little bit ashamed to be telling people that I didn't finish this one, because this is a person who I have admired for a very long time, and her first book is one of my favourite books ever. It's probably one of my top 5, top 10 books ever. I loved it so much. And that would be Training by Patti Smith. I love Patti Smith. She is an icon. She is so unique and so incredibly fierce. And I admire her so much. But this book, I just couldn't get into it. I was really looking forward to her musings and her discussion of, I guess, just general life and philosophy and wandering through the streets of New York. I thought that's exactly what I'd love. I'd love to listen to Patti Smith discuss sweet nothings for, a whole book, but I just couldn't get into it. And she even mentions at the beginning that she watches The Killing, and that's one of my favourite TV series, and I thought this is going to be excellent. But there just comes a point where I just couldn't get through anymore. So I just flipped to a page and it says Wind Up Bird Chronicles was on the bed next to me. So she even likes Haruki Murakami. But, maybe I should try again. Do you think I should try again? Please let me know, because I do love Patti Smith and I've held on to it. I haven't given it away, and that's saying something. And another one that I may have my head bitten off for, but The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. I just didn't love this book. I read 175 pages and it was alright. I liked the first big catastrophe that happens. Was quite interesting and entertaining, and it's well written, but it just wasn't completely captivating for me. I do wonder if it's because there aren't a whole lot of female characters in the book, but surely that's not the only reason. I just didn't love it. I put it down and I haven't picked it up since. I was sent this by a lovely girl in our book swap who has quite similar taste to me, and I was super surprised that I didn't love this. Pretty much everyone I know that has read it has loved it. But a friend of mine said to me once, it's like a children's book written for adults. And that stuck with me because that's kind of exactly how I felt about this book. I felt like it just wasn't enough. It just wasn't stimulating enough for me. So sorry for the noise. And given that it's so long, I guess once I'd read 175 pages and wasn't really hanging to keep reading it, I thought, well, I'll just put it down for a while, and then I never picked it back up. Do you think it's worth reading? Is there something else that happens in this book that makes it incredible? I would love your opinions. Please post them below. Another book I would like to talk about, which I don't have with me, it's on my Kindle, and my Kindle is actually going through some weird aneurysm at the moment, but I'll pop it here. It's called The Wife Between Us. This is a thriller that isn't something I would normally pick up because it looks kind of pop cheesy thriller, but I thought it's got good reviews. It's written by someone who writes for the New York Times, so yeah, Greer Hendricks. So I thought, you know what, it's worth it. I'm just going to give it a go. Oh, this book. There were so many obvious twists in this book. I read half of it and the writing was quite boring. I'm so sorry if you're reading it, if you're watching this, someone who loves it or the author themselves, but I found it really boring. I could pick every single twist before it came along, and it just didn't give me what I was craving, which was that sort of dark, thriller, stimulating read. Part of me kind of just wants to finish it so that maybe my mind has changed and maybe I do end up loving it. But I was just so bored, I had to put it down and read something else. So please let me know if you did love it or if you didn't love it, and then I will know whether I've made the right choice or not. And last but not least, Lost Girls. This was one of my book club reads, book club picks last year, and I was a terrible book club host and didn't read it. We never ended up having our meetup because we all got super busy, so I don't feel too bad, but most of the people in the club read it and loved it. And I read I think the weird thing about this book is the first few chapters are just chapters of women who, or girls I should say, who went missing. But it's just sort of like a description of their whole life and all of the people in their lives, like their parents and their boyfriend and where they go to work. And there's so many of them that I just got really bored. I read like maybe 4 or 5 of them. Chloe, I'm just going to show you how much of the book actually is just introductions of the girls. So that much of the book is just girls. And I guess I didn't read that much even. I read maybe a quarter of it and I got really bored. You can see my attention span is not quite that good, which is probably why I'm reading 4 or 5 books at once all the time. But I've heard really good things about it, so I would like to pick it up again, but I kind of need a push. So I was hoping someone out there has read it and can give me some advice on whether to bother with it or not. I think that is all that I did not finish. It's pretty good considering, you know, I do read a lot and I do finish most of the books that I do read. But I do feel guilty every time I don't finish a book. So yeah, please let me know if you think I should bother with any of the ones I have not finished, or if I should leave them on my DNF shelf and give them away and just be at peace with the fact that I haven't read them all. Yeah, I think that's all from me. So thank you again for watching. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.